It's a Solar One, a sci-fi podcast. Hello, this is episode 212 of the Solar One Sci-Fi Podcast. I'm Michael Ball. This week, I'm not joined by the demigod of information. Unfortunately, Martin has got lots of going on in his personal life, and he can't make it. But the semi-demigod is back this week, and that is Malcolm Patterson. Hello, Malcolm.
Hello. Hello.
Nice to see you. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all good. All good.
Anything exciting to report to the world, your end?
First 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again.
Never seen that. Is it good?
Yeah, I mean, I know you didn't watch the other Netflix Daredevil, did you?
No.
The same cast, which I really, really strongly recommend you do. In terms of Marvel TV series, it is without question the best that's ever been made.
So
it's a shame they pulled the plug on Netflix, really.
Is this, sorry, it sounds a bit naive, but I mean, I've seen some of the Marvel shows on Disney Plus. Are these the same people that did like She-Hulk and all that stuff? Or is it, am I talking crap?
No, this was Netflix. Netflix originally made Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, one more, Iron Fist, and then another series called Defenders, which was all of them together. And they also introduced 2 seasons of The Punisher. And these are way darker than anything the Marvel MCU universe.
So is this this isn't in the Marvel universe? Is this something different?
Okay, people tend to say no.
I'm getting confused now.
But when they did kind of mention offhand things like the Battle of New York and this and that. So I think it's kind of, it probably is, but a lot of people say no, it's not. And then obviously Daredevil, the same character, he appeared in not as Daredevil but as his lawyer Matt Murdock persona. He appeared in the Spider-Man movie, as the guy who's going to defend Peter Parker. Then he appeared in She-Hulk as Daredevil. And then they brought him back. Obviously, Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, is a villain for sort of 2 of the series and all that. Without question, the single greatest casting decision of any TV show ever. He absolutely nails it. It is worth watching just to see his performance. He is fucking amazing.
I'm a semi-Marvel, into Marvel, all this stuff. I mean, I've seen most of the movies. I saw Loki. I thought that was, I know this is not quite the ones you're talking about on Netflix. I thought that was all right. But to be honest with you, what really put me off was, I saw that one, we did a review of the one where it's like starts off in like 1960s black and white and eventually, what was the character called?
WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision. I like that. I thought that was all right. But there's a lot of stuff here, and I didn't know that there was a different perspective of technically what sounds like the same universe, but Netflix has its own aspects of these shows, and Disney Plus have that. It's a lot, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, it's one of those things where I would like to watch some of it, but I just never have the time. I'm so busy with work. And
I mean, Born Again, the new one, Daredevil Born Again, you could probably just go into that as an MCU series and not bother with the previous Netflix ones. I strongly recommend you don't. I think, to be fair though, there's 3 Daredevil series, 3 Jessica Jones series, 2 Luke Cage series, 2 Iron Fist series, 2 Punisher series, and a Defender series. And they're all pretty long, they're all they're all like 12, 15 episodes. So it's a big investment.
Yeah,
but this is, I mean, if you imagine the sort of MCU violence, which is people getting punched into walls and stuff, and then this is more real. And Daredevil takes a guy and then breaks his fucking arm. You see the blood flow through the wound where he's just literally broken his arm into. It's that level of violence.
All right, fair enough. Okay. At some point I definitely will. I mean, like I said, I'm still going through Blake 7. I'm still in series 6. I saw the planet on the edge of something on the edge of the world or something. I saw that one recently, and I saw.
Oh yeah, that's the one that was written because Michael Keaton's daughter kind of had a dig about the fact that his character was an idiot, so they wrote that story to make him a bit more of a hero. Yeah.
So, okay. I'm actually liking the 3rd season. It's weird because there's no Blake. But I'm actually quite liking the 3rd. I'm more used to it now. I take a long time
Yeah,
to get used to new shows, even though it's
see,
an
the
old show.
third season is a little bit more like, oh, we're just kind of renegades going out and
Yeah, they're
stealing
just sort of
stuff.
going out and having their standalone
Which,
sort of adventures
which
and stuff.
I've kind of had this conversation with people on Facebook. It's a little bit more realistic because even with that super ship, there is no way five guys, or whatever it
Mm,
is,
mm.
two women and three guys, are going to take down something like the Federation. I mean,
No,
you've already seen, they mentioned at the end of the Galactic War, the Federation has lost 2/3 of his fleet and still fucking rules the
it's still,
galaxy.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
there's no way they were ever going to take them
I
down. So
will
it
go.
makes
I will
sense that
watch
they
it.
just become rogue.
I
Mm.
will watch it though. I mean, I'll try and watch it from 2 or 3 episodes a week if I get the chance. Because I come home at lunchtimes quite often, which is quite good. And there, I've got enough time to watch one. So yeah, I'll carry on with it. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. News wise, there's not. What have we got? I saw a trailer for The Last of Us season 2, which is coming on in April, which looks quite good. But it's so long since the first season. I need to rewatch a lot of the first season again because it's been
Yeah,
about
yeah,
two
I
and a
might,
half
I might
years.
throw through it at work and give it a go.
It's
I haven't
just a
seen the
bit too
trailer for the
long.
second season.
What's
Hmm.
that? Sorry.
I haven't seen the trailer for the second
Yeah,
season
no, it
yet.
looks good. It looks good. But like I said, it's such a long gap that I'd like to do that. We did review the Andor trailer on the last episode, which we did sort of live actually as it was on. We only just got it, so that seems to be sort of proving to be quite an interesting mixed bag from reviewers. Some people are saying there's some famous battle in Star Wars where eventually a Star Destroyer comes down and crushes a city of people or something, and then people are saying that this is going to happen in this series if it's following on from the unofficial books and all this sort of stuff. So that could be
Yeah,
interesting.
maybe that's that planet where they get the kyber crystals from, where the Forrest Whitaker saw
Oh,
character.
Saw
Maybe that's where
Gerrera.
he was,
So
because that was a crashed Star Destroyer. So maybe that's where that comes from. Maybe that's what they're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, looks good. There's some more tidbits of information about the new Star Wars movie, which Mandalorian and Grogu. They say it's going to be quite a family film. It's not going to be too dark.
Yeah,
And well, I don't know. I don't know how to think about it. I mean, I would like something a bit more like has a bit of a punch and can be, like when you watch Rogue One, I loved it when I came out of the cinema. The same as I came out of when I watched. It was the day after I got married. I watched Revenge of the Sith, and I came out and I was just buzzing. And I would like that, but I don't know if we're going to get that impact from this new Star Wars film. I know it's early days, but
actually, sort of back to Marvel quickly. The
mm.
opinions of the new Captain America: Brave New World film seem to have pendulumed into people loving it now. I see that
Oh, okay.
the people that loved it are shouting down anyone that kind of didn't like it, and it's really weird. From what I'm reading, in forums and stuff, the people who don't like it are on the tired old, oh, black guy playing the role and
Oh
all that,
yeah, I
and
don't
they
mind
are
that obviously.
just
Yeah, but
getting
that's
destroyed. As like
yeah.
if that's what you think was bad about the film, then you were never going to
No, I
like
don't
anything that
care
they
about
do.
that. I just want a good
But yeah,
storyline. I mean, it'll probably be out digitally within a short period of time, so I'll check it
so what
out.
what comment was hilarious. A guy went, well, it made nothing on the opening weekend, and the guy said it made twice its budget on the
Yeah,
opening weekend.
I've heard
And
it's done well.
this guy came back and went, yeah, well, films are only considered successful if they do 10 times their budget on opening weekend. And
Got to backtrack.
all these people going back, name one film that returned 10 times its investment on opening weekend. Name one
No,
film
no,
that
it's
did
never
that.
happened, has it? It's never happened. So, they get these people. One thing I did hear about, apparently, Paramount might be in trouble. I saw Jay on Sidetrack, and apparently he said that Trump is having there's some big thing with Trump where he's suing Paramount and CBS for something, and it could really lead to some sort of ramifications for Paramount as an entity making stuff. You hear these things, but it'd
Mm.
be amazing if Star Trek ended up in trouble because of Trump. Because obviously Paramount makes Star Trek, so I don't know about that. I mean, there's all sorts of things
Well,
flying about.
to be fair, CBS makes Star Trek TV series,
Then
Paramount
that's the
makes Star Trek
yeah
films.
CBS.
So it's all a bit weird.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
CBS and Paramount they split, and at one point CBS did the movies, and then Paramount Plus did the. I don't know. I can't keep up with it now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's re-merged now, I think, but it was all up in the air for
Yeah,
years.
seemingly from what I heard, it was why JJ Abrahams had to go down a completely different route because he was allowed to use the character names and the
but
Enterprise,
not.
but
Yeah,
he
yeah.
wasn't allowed to use anything else
That's
because
why it's supposed to
CBS
be
owned all
different,
that.
and they
Yeah.
used which was actually, I have to say, although a lot of people loathe the JJ, I don't mind them. But it was clever how they did try to still do it, but it's just they didn't really fit with Star Trek from what we normally watch as Star Trek
The
fans.
first one was okay. It was good enough. The second one was abysmal and literally pissed on one of the greatest cinematic scenes in
You
cinema
mean
history.
they can't,
Yeah,
yeah, that was
Well,
terrible.
not only that, to me, the Spock dying scene was iconic. It's one of the best written, directed, acted scenes ever made,
Well,
and they
famous,
literally
a famous
shit
scene.
on it in
Yeah,
that second.
reverse it round.
And
Yeah.
then Star Trek Beyond. I wanted a lobotomy after I watched that. That was absolute bollocks. The only thing I liked about Star Trek Beyond was finally somebody worked out that the only way a universal translator works is if you speak and then it says back to you what they've just said. That was the only bit about the film where I thought,
Bit
oh,
like
okay,
Siri or something.
somebody's figured it out.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is it. All right, well, that's pretty much it for news my end, and nothing else apart from that. Unless anything else you want to
No,
say?
I'm not thinking of it. Most of my YouTube stuff over the last couple of weeks has been literally watching videos about MetaQuest VR headsets because I'm just sold on getting one now.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'll get it in a few weeks.
yeah, well, if you get one, maybe you could talk to us about it and see what the experience of it is.
Yeah. Well, Martin said he has a MetaQuest 2, which came out about 2 years ago, that he's never even taken out of the box. That I don't understand. That's a heavy investment to not even plug in.
Well, maybe that's what he's doing right now as we're recording this. Maybe he's on the MetaQuest. So
listen,
yeah.
if we got one each, we can still play Bridge Crew on VR, where we can take the bridge of the Enterprise and each take up a different position. That is more fun than you can possibly imagine because I've done it on the PlayStation VR.
How much do the ones how much did the MetaQuest go for?
About 460 odd quid for that one, and then it'll be another 22 for that game.
Yeah,
but I'm telling you. So the original game is the bridge of a JJ Enterprise
yeah.
kind of thing, and all that. But then they did downloadable content. I can't remember which order they came in. One of them was the Next Generation bridge, and it is literally like sitting in the bridge all around you. You can look around the bridge.
And
then they came out. Yeah. Then they came out with the original series bridge.
Okay, yeah.
And it might have been first, but that I am telling you, when that first comes on, when it kicks in, and you're just sitting on the bridge in the captain's chair, and you can hear the and all that, it is incredible. It's just like wow.
Okay, I mean, I've never tried.
It's worth the 460 for the headset just for that.
I'll have to look at some YouTube reviews of it as well if you've sort of been checking out.
Just put Star Trek Bridge Crew in, and you'll see loads of it come up. The original PC game and the original PlayStation game is like you can play it not VR as well. You can play it normal 2D screen. Nice
one. Okay, I'll have to give that a go. All right then, Malcolm. Let's go into our review of the week because this one's going to be an interesting one that we talk about. So here we go.
It's the Solar Sci-Fi Focus of the Week.
Right, so this week we're talking about a film from 1987. I think it was it done after Fright Night or before? I can't remember if we checked.
It's a couple of years after.
Oh, it's after. And of course, the reason that we brought this up is because, we did a vampire film, and we did say, in Martin's defense, he was a big fan of Fright Night, which is okay. It was an okay film, but we both kind of said during the last episode that we really did prefer The Lost Boys. So let's just start off. What is it that initially you find better about The Lost Boys than Fright Night?
Lost Boys is a cooler film. I was trying to do a little bit of history on vampire films, on how they went. So you had like the original. So Nosferatu, apparently, I didn't know this, but Nosferatu is just Bram Stoker's Dracula, but under a different name to avoid copyrights, apparently.
Right.
And then you had those kind of films, and then in the 50s, they got a bit more glammy, the vampire films. And then obviously you went into Hammer, and then eventually somebody worked out about what if vampires are walking around today, which I don't know if Fright Night is the first one to do that.
This is what made me think about that. Yeah.
But I think what makes Lost Boys stand out for me is it was the first time you watched a film and you actually sat there thinking, yeah, I want to be the vampire in this. I mean, that was the tagline, wasn't it? Sleep all day, party all night. It's fun to be a vampire. And there's the iconic scene where where David says to
Michael.
Max, isn't it? He says to him, like, now you know what we are. Now you know what you are. You know, sleep all day, party all night, but you have to feed. And all that, and I just thought, yeah, that's it. That's the first time. So later after this, you got the TV series like Forever Night, where vampires started to be good guys, or you know, resisting the urge to feed and not kill people and what have you, which led on to like your Buffy and your Angel, etc. But this was the first time when you looked at these vampires and you think, yes, that I want. Definitely, I'm up for that. Sign me up, mate. I'll eat that. I'll drink that blood wine thing. And
blood wine. No, blood wine's on Star Trek. That's a different thing. That's not.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you're saying that this must have been a huge cast list then, with also with Fright Night, for a lot of these sort of 90s sort of vampire sort of contemporary setting shows like Buffy, as you said. I don't know whether that was a big influence or whether it's just coincidence, but yeah, the idea of contemporary, because I was never a big fan of the gothic kind of Count Dracula, Christopher Lee, sort of, you know, the creepy sort of medieval settings, and I don't know why, but as someone who's never been particularly to medieval historical sort of films in a big way, I think that when I watched this, I just like the idea, as you say, and the place that they went to, this coastline town, which is dodgy and it had high crime. But of course, a lot of the reason why it's high crime is because the vampires were killing and murdering people. So it made the area darker and more, I don't know, just a less kind of friendly sort of place basically to live. I also think that the actual casting was very good. I mean, I wasn't that familiar with Jason Patric is the actor who played Michael. I've not seen him in anything else, but I thought he was very good. Who else have we got here? We've got obviously Kiefer Sutherland as David. I really like Kiefer Sutherland in the things I've seen him in. I liked him in Flatliners. Did you ever see Flatliners?
Many years ago, yeah.
I thought that was another interesting concept.
It's one of those weird films, you know. If you nip out for a pee and come back, you've just lost completely what's going on.
Yeah. But he sort of had a similar aspect to that. And Corey Feldman was in it, of course. He was in lots of 80s sort of more comedy movies and things like that.
And Corey Haim as well.
Who was?
Corey Haim as well.
Yeah, Corey Haim. Yeah, he played Sam.
The two of them were quite a big staple until Corey Haim. I think Corey Haim killed himself. No,
I don't know.
Either died or killed himself. One of the two.
But Corey was in License. He was in License to Drive, which is a funny 80s comedy series, film, which I quite like.
Yeah, so he was molested. I mean, like raped. He was raped by a well-known Hollywood actor, and I think he killed himself.
Oh, that's horrible.
Corey Feldman.
I know Corey's still going.
Has always refused to say who the main actor was. People know, but he's always. But and I won't say on this.
No, don't say on it. We're aware of it.
But it is a massive name, and it would like. I'll tell you off air who it was.
I was just thinking as you were saying that. I mean, you obviously were ahead of me. I was saying, we're not going to say whoever it might allegedly be. Just to cover ourselves.
A simple Google will bring the name.
Yeah, all right. So that's as far as we're going.
But it's very much alleged in that it's what people think. Corey Feldman has never ever 100% said yes, it was this guy. But anyway, we've gone too dark.
No. I was just thinking it's a shame that the actor died, Corey. I mean,
it was very good. He did some great. The two of them did. Explorers, I think, was both of them.
Oh yeah. And because also Corey Feldman was also in The Burbs, as well as he's in loads of comedy films of the 80s. So another thing which I loved about the movie, and I liked it so much, which was unusual for me, I actually bought the soundtrack on CD.
Yep, soundtrack. That's a great soundtrack.
I think it's one of the best 80s soundtrack, just so very iconic for the songs, which are the tracks which really enhance the movie to a big degree compared to a lot of movies. I don't know what it was, why it really clicked with me, but almost every track in that album on the film is just really, really.
For me, it's either this or Highlander.
Yeah.
Which, although Highlander never really had an official soundtrack release, it was released. It was released as the Kind of Magic Queen album. I think all the songs on it are in are in the film, and then they added One Vision from Iron Eagle.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's kind of an unofficial Highlander soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, Highlander is a film I haven't seen for a long time, and I remember that there was a sequel. I think they had two sequels, and I know they had a TV series as well, which I think was linked to the movies as well. I think it was.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I watch the movie at least twice a year. It is one
Oh,
of my
really?
favourite
You know it that
movies.
well? Okay.
I
good to
never
hear
watched. I never watched the sequels because they're all rubbish. The third one is not too bad. The second one was abysmal, and it's one of those films that's been re-edited to try and make it not
that. To
as
actually
bad.
make it
And it is
better.
still.
Okay.
Then there was a kind of a fourth one which ties into the TV series, and then there was a fifth one which is universally panned.
Yeah.
But the TV series, I will watch the TV series at least once a year as
Okay.
well. I love that series. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, because who was the there was an actor in that who was also, I think he was also in Stargate. He played a
Adrian
character.
Paul.
Right. I used to work with someone who knew him, and
Okay.
she'd actually been out to Canada, and she'd actually knew him and ended up on the Stargate set when he was actually in. I don't know how she knew him, but she was a theatrical. Although she worked in an office, she had a theatrical background, so she knew people, lovies and things like that in certain places. And she was like really adored him. I think that they were just friends, but she'd like more than that, but it didn't happen, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And,
he does something called the Sword Experience, where
Okay.
you'll pay like 300 quid and you'll spend a day with him and a load of other people, and he teaches you how to sword fight and all that. And then you
Okay,
get
so
for your
yeah,
money, you get a proper wooden boken and all that to
you
take
get
away
that.
all that. And he does it sort of twice a year in this country, but I've never managed to have enough money to go and do
Go
it.
and do it.
But
No.
seemingly he is a nice guy.
Yeah.
He
So
was
go
also
back
in the first TV series of War of the Worlds, I think, as well.
second season. The second
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, because the second season which was inferior. He was in that show, and we did review that show ages ago, and the first series of that was really good, but the second series but he wasn't, as you say, the second series. So yeah, going back to the Lost
The Lost
Boys.
Boys, yeah.
Sorry, it's fine. We can go on a tangent. I don't mind doing that. What else about the film did you like that stood out for you that you could think of?
Yeah, I mean, when was that film come out? 1987.
87,
So
yeah.
we were what, 14, 15 at the time?
Yeah.
14?
I don't know when I
14.
first
So-
saw it. I don't know what.
So obviously, what was the name of the wee lassie in it? Summer.
Oh,
Was
she
it
played
Summer,
Star, and
her
she was
name?
gorgeous. Yeah, she was
Star,
absolutely-
that's it. Yeah,
Star,
she
was
was
gorgeous.
an absolute
Yeah,
babe. I was
yeah.
just waiting for her to come out with a slew of films after that, and
No, I didn't see her
nothing
again.
really.
I never
don't think we
yeah.
ever saw her again. But she was
Absolutely,
absolute sex
I know.
on fire. She
Yeah,
was
she was
beautiful.
absolutely gorgeous. I'm actually looking her up now. Yeah, Jamie Gertz is her name, and I was just trying to see her filmography. She was in Twister, apparently, Lost Boys. So a lot of stuff I've not heard of. So she must have tried to do a few things. I think that this is probably her most famous film that I can think of. Because I can think of her being, but she really was. As soon as you see her on the screen, like, oh shit, okay, she's nice, you know. So, and she was fun in the character in the film. I mean, I thought she did that good as well. Also, who else is on
The
the
other
film?
chap who went on to
Alex
to
Winter.
do-
Alex Winter from Bill and Ted. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that's it.
Alex Winter.
Bill and Ted.
He did Bill and Ted the year after,
Mhm.
and he's another one of those actors that's really only, although he appeared in this in a more of a minor role, he's only known as Bill S. Preston, isn't he?
Basically.
From the 3 Bill and Ted movies. Yeah, so I mean, pretty much that's the movie as I can sort of define it. I'm just trying to think of any other aspects I liked about it. We talked about the soundtrack. The cinematography was good. It had good humor. It had. I like the films when they don't, although they can be dark, they can also have the funny moments, and I like the fact that
Yeah, it's a difficult thing, but they got the balance really, really well.
I thought it was really good. Yeah.
Mixing danger with actual humour, they did well. I'll give them that.
Max was the guy that was the head vampire that we didn't really know, although we suspected until the end, and he was trying to get together with Lucy, who he wanted her to be like the part of the vampire clan, and of course it didn't work. And then we had the old Bernard Hughes played Grandpa. He was quite funny with the car. Where he said, "We're going to take the car out now," and he just sits in the car and he starts it up and says, "That's as close to the city as I want to get in the car." And there's lots of good one-liners which
It's just his final line of the film where he just says, the only thing I didn't like was there's too many damn vampires.
yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Are you surprised? I mean, from what I have understood, there was never a sequel or any follow up.
Two sequels.
There was?
Two.
You're
Yeah, so
joking.
the first one.
I didn't know. Okay, go on.
The first one, I think, is the Frog Brother, who is not Corey Feldman.
Okay.
He's in it. And then I think Corey Feldman came back for the third one, something like that.
I never knew that. So was it
But
called?
I've never seen either of them, to be fair. I keep meaning to watch them, but I never have.
I'm just
They were,
looking
you know,
up
straight to
on.
video things.
Are they? But I mean, they're not under the Lost Boys under Internet Movie Database, like Lost Boys 2
Yeah,
or
it should be.
something.
Should be.
Let me see what they're called. Lost Boys. Maybe I'm not looking properly.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah. Lost Boys.
Yeah, I forget. One of them is called Lost Boys: The Tribe. I know that.
Okay. Oh yeah, 2008 video, straight to video.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lost Boys the Thirst, was that the second one?
So
So there's a bit of a gap then. So 2008. So 1907. So that's 21 years later was The Tribe, and then it looks like 2 years later they did The Thirst with Corey Feldman coming back.
Yeah.
And Angus Sutherland was in The Tribe. Was he related to Kiefer Sutherland? Maybe.
I've got no idea, to be fair.
No, I never even heard of those movies actually. So they can't have been very big because I would have known about it probably. Like going back to the Highlander thing. I mean, I knew about those as soon as we started talking about the sequels. And I guess I mean, let's have a look. It says The Lost Boys 2023. Has it had a remake, or was that just not a movie with the same name?
No, I think it's just, you know, somebody just thought.
No, it's not. It's just
we
called
need
The
to
Lost
fill up
Boys.
We need to fill up a building block, and they made the sequels. That was it.
I was just thinking. I mean, do you think it's a film that could be remade in 2025?
I think the concept of these vampires that are kind of not hiding in the shadows and being cool has been done to death. You know, we have the underworld scenario. The Buffy universe kind of had vampires right kind of at the forefront. True Blood again has brought them out. So I think there is room to do it, but there would have to be something different. There'd have to be something massively different. I think the world would have to know that they're vampires. You know, I think that's the way you need to go with these things now. Kind of the True Blood thing where people know of vampires, and I don't know, maybe a vampire that's a massive businessman or something, that runs in a cult or something. I don't know. It could that particular scenario of them being in a town, I think, it's just been done to death. Really, I think vampires need to do something new again now.
I think also the way you answered that question, which is a very clever way of answering, which is quite just stands out, is we've had all these Buffy and all these stuff in between the original Lost Boys and now, so it wouldn't be a fresh idea. It was a fresh idea with Fright Night when it was made in '87, which I think was actually made it sort of very memorable. So I suppose at this point it's what we always ask, would you have this in your collection?
Absolutely. I mean, I have done since I think I bought it on VHS years ago.
I think I did as well. And how would you rate it out of 10?
This is a good. I mean, it's always difficult when you've gone up near the top for some other films. I'm going to give it a 9. I think, because I really enjoyed it. I really liked how original it was.
Yeah, and
I think the balance for humor and horror is quite hard to do. And this is one of the few films that properly nailed it.
Well, I watched it today, and before today I would have given it an 8, but I'll sneak it up to 8.5. I don't know why, but sometimes you rewatch a film and it just doesn't kind of hold the same magic, if that's the right term. When you first fell in love with it and you really liked it, but it really held up well today. It was really good. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I don't know what we gave Fright Night ratings were. I know it was lower than that.
I gave it a 6. Martin gave it a 10, and I think
I was about the same.
I don't know. I think you went 6 or 7 or something.
I think I might have been 7. I think I was similar to you, maybe slightly higher than you. So that's fair enough. Well, okay. So this is after 2 weeks or 2 episodes in following each other. We've done vampire films. So we'll have to see. We'll have to look at some other genres like werewolf film. Oh, I tell you a film I'd like to do, but you see, Marty's not quite so much into horror or darker movies, but I would love to review An American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah.
We've never done that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're doing that other film next week with Martin, but that's one I'd like to put on the list because that's a good film.
Yeah,
I mean, that's one that is really. I mean,
that is one of two films that I will always stand up to people to say why the guys who do actual full-on special effects
no
will
CGI.
never ever be overtaken by CGI. CGI will get good and it will get this and it will get that, but the David transformation scene and just about every scene in the thing are just brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, I follow on Facebook the Stan Winston character thing, and I think do all of this special
Stan
effects.
Winston, yeah.
Just their posts every now and again show you little tidbits of how they do it and how they put it together and all the years that they're going on doing it. It's fascinating stuff. I'm a big fan of behind the scenes. I like to see the strings. Quite often the special features on a DVD to me are way better than the film
The actual
sometimes.
film itself, yeah.
Which is why I think, buying DVDs is probably still always going to be better than streaming.
And or having some copy of physical media or whatever, a copy of a film where you don't have to worry about it being changed, deleted.
Yeah, I mean, I watched. You remember when Jurassic Park came out, and the dinosaurs in that were like, when you first saw them, you were like, wow, it was unbelievable. Watch it now, and you'll look at it and you'll think, really, I was that impressed with that. That's how
it was groundbreaking.
It
was groundbreaking. Yeah. It really was. It was the same with the T-1000 in Terminator 2. We'd never seen.
Yeah.
And then Odo came along.
Before the T-1000,
Abyss.
And I'm fairly certain you've seen the Abyss because
I've seen the Abyss. Not for a long time.
Yeah. So I think that was the first of
the Abyss
James
was
Cameron
the first I
doing
remember. Then I remember T-1000. Then I remember Odo and DS9. It was about that. Those are the three that in that order I remember.
See, because season 3, I was trying to explain to somebody on Facebook why I didn't like the updated changelings, and I thought it was great, and I like the fact that they made out that these are not actual changelings. They're
modified. They're slightly altered.
But the effect was incredible with the blood and the bone and all that. But I still preferred the original one.
I prefer the original.
Not because I was a dick and wanted to go. This is what people say. Oh, you keep clinging to the past, blah blah. And it's not that. I just the original ones were alien. They were an alien kind of thing. It was like ooh when you saw it. Whereas these new ones, the special effect eclipsed it many ways, but it just wasn't alien enough for me now. Now it just looked like a person that had melted, which pretty much is what they were.
Yeah, I mean, I know they explain why they're different because these changelings, when they actually form blood, they form muscle and stuff, rather than it's more of a visual illusion. I think the way they explain it was different. I wish they could have made the changes look maybe a bit more close to the Deep Space Nine changelings when they changed, even though they were different. But it doesn't matter. It was still good. Picard Season 3 was really one of my favorites. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. So, what are we doing with Martin next week again? What's the name of that?
I believe I've got to watch it still. It's Outland with
Outland. I'm going to watch that as
Mr.
well.
Connery.
Yeah, and then hopefully, once we've done that, then we'll be getting near to the Andor season 2. 4 weeks of 3 episodes, which is going to be quite a lot to watch in a whole month. 12 episodes. That's a lot of Star Wars for a short period of time. That'd be good. Doctor Who's going to be coming back as well.
Because I didn't want to go and see it at the cinema, but I'm thinking Captain America Brave New World must be due to be released on Disney Plus fairly soon. So that'll be watchable.
Another month. Yeah, about another month. I mean, they do.
Yeah, that would see you got Andor coming up. Obviously, Daredevil Born Again is rolling on. Alien Earth, I think that's more August. August. It says summer.
I think I heard August as well. I'm not sure about that. I'll certainly give it a go. Have to see how it goes. All right, on that note, I think we'll wrap things up. We'll finish then. What I'll do is, I've obviously said this to Malcolm off air, is that I've been mucking about with the AI app called Google Notebook LM, where you can upload MP3s and it will actually review it. There's 2 panels, this male and female American accented. It's like a podcast in its own right. And so I just uploaded episode 200 when we just talked about what we've been experiencing in sci-fi over the last 5 years. and you've checked it out, and it was pretty interesting what they said.
Yeah, I love the. I mean, they don't sound like
They
computer
interact, they
generated voices.
giggle.
There's
It's not.
emotion in there and
There's
everything.
yeah, and they actually chuckle.
Inflection in the voices, the way they do it. Yeah,
They
it
even
was
sort of like,
great.
you can even hear
It was
them
great.
breathing in one or two, like
Yeah,
exhalations.
yeah.
I think.
And at one point, one of them interrupts the other one. I thought that, it was great. It's
really
really well done.
interesting. So I think as an unusual one, but for a one-off, let's just put this at the end of this episode to see what people think, because it's definitely worth a listen. So we'll do that. Malcolm, thank you very much. We should
No
be back
worries.
next time with Martin. And until then, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to tackle something pretty interesting. You gave us the 200th episode of the Solo One Sci-Fi podcast,
Okay.
which is basically a roundtable of fans and critics sounding off about the state of science fiction over the past 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot to unpack.
it is. So it's like a direct line to the heart of fandom,
Yeah,
what's
well.
thrilling them, what's disappointing them, and what they're hoping to see more of.
It's fascinating to hear, like, firsthand what's resonating and what's not,
Right.
with a particular group of fans who are really engaged in the genre.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Okay, well, let's dive in then.
Okay.
One of the things that these podcasters kept coming back to was this idea that modern sci-fi just isn't as intellectually stimulating as it used to be.
Yeah, they seem to be craving that, like, thought-provoking element
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
really makes you question things.
Yeah.
Like you said, the big questions
Right.
that sci-fi is known for.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you would think that with all the amazing special effects and bigger budgets and everything, we'd be in like a golden age of these mind-blowing concepts.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be more opportunity to explore those.
Right, exactly.
To really dive deep.
And in some ways we were, you mentioned Fallout and Silo, which the podcasters actually praised for their intricate world building.
Those were definitely standouts for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they pointed to other shows. I'm not going to name names here to avoid spoilers.
Right.
But where they felt like the ideas were either shallow or just rehashes of old tropes.
Yeah, it's like they're looking for more substance,
Right.
more originality.
Yeah.
Like those stories that really make you think about the implications of technology
Yeah.
and the choices that characters make in those worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do they think things went wrong? Like, was there a specific turning point for them?
Well, they brought up a couple of industry shifts that might be playing a role. One being the impact of COVID-19 on production.
The pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked about how the pandemic forced a lot of shows to scale back their ambitions, leading to shorter seasons and what they called bottle episodes.
Right.
Basically episodes that were confined to a single location due to filming restrictions.
Exactly. And they even mentioned that image of Jodie Whittaker filming Doctor Who in a mask.
Oh, yeah.
Not exactly the grand sweeping adventures that the show is known for.
Right, right. And for those who might not be familiar with the term, a bottle episode is one that uses a limited setting, often for budgetary reasons, or as in this case, due to external factors like a pandemic.
Right.
But sometimes those limitations can lead to really creative storytelling.
Oh, absolutely. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say.
Right, right. But the podcasters also wondered if those production choices, even if they were out of necessity,
Yeah.
might have contributed to a trend of sci-fi feeling less expansive and more contained.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, it is. They also brought up the streaming boom that happened during lockdowns.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's stuck at home, suddenly subscribing to every platform under the sun.
It was like a free-for-all
Right.
for streaming services.
Yes, and that led to this explosion of content,
Right.
which on the surface sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Right, but they argued that it also created this pressure to constantly churn out new shows, potentially at the expense of quality.
Yeah. And that's where the term franchise fatigue comes in.
Right.
They were talking about that in relation to some of the negative buzz surrounding the new Star Wars series, The Acolyte.
Right.
Maybe some franchises are getting stretched a little too thin.
Yeah, and this is something you might have experienced yourself, that feeling of being overwhelmed
Oh,
by
absolutely.
the sheer volume of shows and movies.
It's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's even a little bit disillusioning when some of your favorite franchises
Yeah.
don't quite live up to the hype.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be tough to keep up, and it definitely makes you more discerning about where you invest your time and attention.
Yeah, you really have to be selective these days.
Right, and it's not just about the quantity of shows, it's also about the way they're being consumed.
That's a good point.
With streaming, we're all about binge watching devouring entire seasons in a weekend.
Right. Instant gratification.
Exactly, which can be great.
Yeah.
Right? But the podcasters wondered if it also contributes to a shorter attention span where we're less willing to stick with a show that takes its time to develop.
Makes you wonder if that's impacting the way stories are being told.
Right.
Yeah,
they specifically contrasted this with older shows that unfolded over years,
right.
allowing for storylines to build slowly and characters to grow over time.
Yeah, they felt like that kind of patience is becoming rare.
Yeah, they had a lot of praise for shows like Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5.
Oh, yeah.
Which really embraced that serialized storytelling.
And those are great examples of how like a slower burn can lead to a really rewarding payoff.
Right.
You get to know the characters deeply, the universe feels richer, and the stakes feel higher.
Exactly. But they also acknowledged that those shows came from a different era.
Right.
Before streaming and the constant demand for new content.
It was a different landscape back then.
Right.
Yeah.
It was so given all these challenges, the pandemic, the streaming boom, maybe even our own evolving viewing habits, how do the podcasters see the future of science fiction?
Well, that's what we'll explore next. They had some pretty strong opinions on what's working, what's not, and where they think the genre needs to go.
Yeah, sounds like we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah, just getting started.
All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll dive even deeper into their thoughts.
Sounds good. Picking up where we left off, the podcasters had some pretty interesting thoughts about what they see as a growing reliance on nostalgia in modern sci-fi.
Yeah, like they felt like a lot of shows were leaning too heavily on cameos and references to past works, you know, almost like they were afraid to stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah, and that's something you as a viewer might have noticed too.
Yeah.
That feeling of, haven't I seen this before?
Yeah.
It can be fun in small doses.
Yeah.
But when it becomes the main draw, it can feel a bit hollow.
Yeah, they brought up a hilarious example from Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Apparently there's a scene with Klingons singing R&B.
Oh, wow.
Which on paper sounds kind of ridiculous.
It does.
Right. But it's interesting because even though the podcasters were critical of like overusing nostalgia,
Yeah.
they admitted to finding that particular scene entertaining.
So it's like a guilty pleasure kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it's a matter of balance.
Oh,
like
yeah.
a little wink to the fans can be fun,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't come at the expense of originality and fresh ideas.
Absolutely. And they contrasted that with shows that they felt really did stand the test of time.
Right.
Like episodes from Star Trek The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine that are still relevant and thought-provoking today.
Yeah, they specifically called out the strength of the writing in those older shows, arguing that, like, the focus on well-developed characters and timeless themes is what makes them so enduring.
It's a good reminder that good storytelling is always going to resonate.
Right.
Regardless of special effects or flashy gimmicks.
For sure, for sure. They also touched on the idea of shifting audience expectations.
Right.
They felt like modern sci-fi often prioritizes what they call emotional baggage and messaging over traditional sci-fi concepts.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting because it speaks to a potential generational divide within fandom.
Yeah, like maybe some viewers who grew up on more introspective, character-driven stories expect that from their sci-fi,
Right.
while others are craving the classic sense of wonder and escapism.
And it raises the question, like, what does good character development even look like in sci-fi?
Yeah.
Is it about giving characters relatable backstories and emotional arcs?
Right.
Or is it about how they react to extraordinary situations and grapple with complex ethical dilemmas?
Right. I'm curious, as a listener, what do you think about that balance?
That's a good question.
Do you prefer sci-fi characters who are grounded in their emotions?
Yeah.
Or do you find that takes away from the sense of otherworldliness?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's definitely a conversation worth having because it speaks to the evolving nature of the genre and what different viewers are seeking from it.
Yeah, for sure. Another point they brought up is that the current media landscape, with its focus on instant gratification and quick reading, can make it tough for shows to really breathe and develop their full potential.
It's like they're constantly under pressure to perform.
They were particularly frustrated with the trend of shows getting canceled prematurely, often before they have a chance to find their audience or hit their stride.
Heartbreaking.
They cited Dark Matter and Halo as examples of shows that they felt were cut short before they could fully realize their potential.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It is, and think about it from a creator's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
It must be incredibly disheartening to pour your heart and soul into a project only to see it axed before it has a chance to truly blossom.
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
It does. This made me wonder, do you think there's a connection between the fear of cancellation and the reliance on familiar tropes and nostalgia?
Interesting.
Like maybe studios are less willing to take risks on bold new ideas when they're constantly worried about the bottom line?
It's a valid question, you know?
Yeah.
It speaks to that tension between creative ambition and commercial viability.
Right.
It's a tough balance to strike, especially in an industry where the stakes are so high.
They also had some pointed critiques about specific franchises,
Okay.
particularly Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Now, Doctor Who is obviously a beloved show
Yeah.
with a long and storied history.
Yeah, a lot of passion there.
But the podcasters felt like it had lost its way in recent years.
I see.
They specifically criticized the handling of companion deaths,
Okay.
arguing that the frequent resurrections and near-death experiences undermine the emotional weight of those events.
Like it cheapened the stakes.
Yeah, think back to classic Doctor Who.
Yeah.
When a companion died, it was a genuinely impactful event.
Right, it meant something.
It carried real weight.
Yeah.
They felt like that sense of permanence and consequence was missing from the modern series.
So they're looking for that weight.
Yeah, they also felt like the storylines had become too convoluted, with multiple arcs happening at once, often without a clear sense of direction.
Like they're trying to do too much.
Right. They even joked about how the Doctor never seems to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow anymore,
Oh, that's funny.
which is a classic line from the old series,
Right.
which speaks to their feeling that the show has lost some of its signature charm and whimsy.
Like it's lost its spark.
Right. But it wasn't all doom and gloom.
Okay.
They did offer some suggestions for how to improve the show
Okay.
within the constraints of its current production team.
Interesting.
One interesting idea they had was to reverse the current approach to arcs,
Okay.
focusing on fewer but more substantial storylines, rather than trying to juggle too many threads at once.
So simplify a little bit.
Exactly. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
By giving each arc more space to breathe and develop,
Right.
you can create a stronger sense of momentum and emotional payoff.
Makes sense.
They also wondered if the show might benefit from taking a break,
A break.
like a 10-year hiatus,
Wow.
to allow for some creative rejuvenation.
That's a bold idea.
It is. It is. But it raises an interesting question.
Yeah.
Could stepping back from the constant pressure of production allow for a fresh perspective and a return to the show's roots?
It's definitely a gamble, but it could be just what the doctor ordered.
Right. They also discussed the possibility of opening up the writing process to fans,
To fans.
similar to the writer's room model used in the early days of Star Trek,
Interesting.
which speaks to their desire for greater fan involvement
Yeah.
and a belief that passionate viewers can bring valuable insights to the table.
Tapping into that collective creativity.
Right. But they also acknowledged the challenges of implementing such a system,
Right.
particularly in an industry where intellectual property is so tightly controlled.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
It is. But they did praise Big Finish,
Oh.
a company that produces audio dramas featuring Doctor Who characters and storylines,
Okay, I've heard of them.
for their consistently strong writing and innovative approach.
So there's hope.
Yeah, which highlights the potential for creativity and quality outside of the mainstream television format.
Right.
And it suggests that exploring alternative mediums can be a way to expand the boundaries of a franchise and cater to different segments of fandom.
It's like opening up new possibilities.
Exactly. And speaking of diversity, they also touched on the issue of representation both in front of and behind the camera.
Yeah, representation is so important.
They felt like the genre still has a long way to go in terms of showcasing a wider range of characters and stories.
Absolutely. There's always room for improvement.
They specifically called for more female leads as well as characters from marginalized communities.
Making sure everyone sees themselves reflected in these stories.
Exactly, and they pointed to shows like The Expanse and Sense8 as examples of sci-fi that's doing a good job of representing diversity.
Those are great examples.
They also emphasize the importance of having diverse writers and directors,
Yes.
arguing that it leads to more authentic and nuanced storytelling.
Because when you have people from different backgrounds and experiences involved in the creative process,
Right.
you get stories that feel richer and more relatable to a wider audience.
For sure. For sure. So it sounds like their vision for the future of science fiction is one that's more inclusive, more experimental, and more willing to tackle the big questions.
Yeah, like they're looking for sci-fi that challenges us,
Yeah,
that pushes boundaries.
exactly. They want to see stories that challenge our assumptions, expand our understanding of the universe, and inspire us to imagine a better future.
I love that.
Yeah, they wrapped up the podcast on a cautiously optimistic note.
Acknowledging the frustrations, but also highlighting the glimmers of brilliance shining through in shows like Fallout and Silo, and even moments within the franchises they critiqued.
It's good to see that balance.
Right, this balanced perspective is refreshing.
Right.
They're clearly passionate about science fiction, and that passion fuels their critical analysis.
It comes from a place of love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They encourage listeners to seek out and support creators who are pushing the boundaries of the genre and crafting narratives that resonate with both the heart and the mind.
That's a great call to action.
So as you continue exploring the vast world of science fiction, think about what resonates most with you.
Yeah.
What kind of stories are you drawn to?
What speaks to you?
What themes and ideas excite you? What makes you feel that sense of wonder and possibility that drew you to sci-fi in the first place?
Yeah, it's like they're looking for that sweet spot, where
Yeah.
intelligent ideas and compelling characters meet.
Right.
And of course, you can't forget a healthy dose of adventure.
Of course, gotta have that adventure.
Right, exactly. It's about finding that balance where the thought-provoking concepts and the engaging narrative are working together to create a truly memorable experience for the viewer.
Yeah, make it stick with you.
Right. And one thing they didn't really touch on,
Okay.
but I think is worth mentioning,
Yeah.
is the rise of independent sci-fi creators.
Oh, that's a huge point, actually.
Yeah.
With tools like CGI becoming more accessible and digital distribution platforms opening up new avenues,
Right.
we're seeing this like surge of unique and interesting sci-fi content coming from outside the traditional studio system.
Yeah, and that's exciting because it means there's more space for experimentation,
Absolutely.
for diverse voices,
Mm-hmm.
and for stories that might not fit the typical Hollywood mold.
Yeah, it's like a whole new frontier of sci-fi is opening up.
Right.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious to know what stood out to you from this conversation.
Hmm.
Did any of the podcasters' critiques resonate with your own experiences as a sci-fi fan?
Yeah. Were there any points where you found yourself agreeing or disagreeing with their assessments?
Right. What aspects of the genre are you most excited about? And what are your hopes for its future?
You know, because ultimately the beauty of sci-fi is that it's a genre that's constantly evolving, pushing boundaries, and reflecting our hopes and fears for the future.
And it's a conversation that we as fans get to be a part of.
Right.
Engaging with these stories, sharing our thoughts, and supporting the creators who are pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep imagining.
Yes.
The future of sci-fi is in our hands.
Well said. That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.
It's been a pleasure.